जितना भी ट्राई करो बनी लाइफ में
हा आणि ह्यांना बोललो काय कॉलेज सगळ्यांना करू दे दोघांना आणि नाही आले नाही आले का ठीक आहे आल्यावर बोलतो साहेब पाटील आर्ट्स
I request all participants to wait till our judge joins the meeting. Dr. Shilendra, have you joined the meeting?
No.
Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you so much. So, good morning, everyone. A warm welcome to all our esteemed guests, judges, participants, and attendees in the two-day international conference on sustainability, environmental well-being, a philosophical and a religious perspective from Indian knowledge system, where we come together to discuss and deliberate and present innovative ideas on environmental sustainability with philosophical and religious perspective from Indian knowledge system. It is an honor to host this significant gathering where intellectual minds unite to explore solutions for a greener future. Now it is a privilege to introduce our distinguished judge whose expertise will guide us through the paper presentations today. So Dr. Shailendra Kumar Singh is working as assistant professor in the Department of Philosophy, University of Allahabad, Prayagraj. He is a member of various academic committees and meetings. He has published innumerable research articles, chapters in books, and has edited various books. We are honored to have you, sir. Your presence adds great value to this conference. We look forward to your insights and feedback. Now, before we move forward, I would like to seek formal permission from our esteemed panel of judges to commence the conference proceedings. Sir, should we start the presentations? Dr. Shailendra, should we start the presentations? Dr. Shailendra. So in this paper presentation session, each participant will have 6 to 7 minutes to present their research, followed by a short Q&A session with our judge. We request all presenters to be mindful of the time limit. Without further delay, let's welcome our first presenter, who will be presenting on the topic Initiative for Philosophical Studies, University of Colombia, Portugal. Mr. Pompey Guyan, Paradigms of Buddhist and Weak Ecological Thought as a New Path of Ecological Sustainability. Mr. Pompey.
Good morning, everyone. Am I audible?
Yes, you're audible.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. My name is Pompey Bhuyan, and I'm an assistant professor, Department of Philosophy, Jagannath Bora University, Jorhat, Assam. And I'm going to present my seminar paper on paradigms of Buddhist and deep ecological thought as a new path to ecological sustainability. So the most complicated problems which are increasing day by day are environmental issues which have severely disturbed human existence. So worldwide thinkers are serious about the environmental problems and they have redefined the man and nature relationship. So as we all know, human beings survive amongst all animate and inanimate objects. Human beings are also deeply reliant on natural resources, but the gradual development of science and technology have governed the forces of nature, causing environmental disasters. So here, as soon as the science and technology came, nature is apprehended as a machine for the use of the human cause. All moral considerations are applied to man only. So this is the attitude that differentiates man from the rest of the nature, and this attitude is known as anthropocentrism, which is developed in the Western world. But traces of anthropocentrism can also be found in earliest Greek tradition like Protagoras, who declared Homo mensura. He means that it is the man is the measure of all things. And likewise, Aristotle also presents a demeaning picture of the environment and its relation to human beings. So the doctrine of anthropocentrism states that man is only the significant or the important being in this world, and all other beings depend on human beings for their significance. So the non-anthropocentric attitude thrived because of the selfish attitude of anthropocentrism. So non-anthropocentric attitude rejects the views of anthropocentrism that humans are masters of nature and that nature is there only to be exploited by humans. So non-anthropocentric attitude is based on nature-centered morality rather than human-centered morality. So the objectives of my paper is to explore deep ecology ethics, emphasizing the inherent worth and the rights of the nature, to analyze Buddhist ethical principles with deep ecology for a sustainable environment, and to promote holistic outlook and consciousness of the natural environment, shifting from anthropocentric to ecocentric concern. So sustainable development represents a commitment for the well-being of the whole humans by promoting development of the ecological limits of the biosphere. So as we all know, the sustainability in environmental ethics, it is responsible for conserving natural resources, and it is also responsible for protecting global ecosystem. So ecology is the study of ecosystem. So due to the tremendous development of ecological science, ecocentrism was established, and ecocentrism goes beyond biocentrism, which includes not only the human community, but also the biotic and the abiotic community as a whole. Ecocentrism finds inherent value in all the humans. So tied into the concept of ecocentrism is deep ecology. Deep ecology, it is an environmental philosophy that proposes an embracing of ecological ideas and environmental ethics regarding how humans should relate to nature. Arninus developed the concept of deep ecology, according to which nature should be valid, independent of its ability to be used for human welfare. Deep ecology's core principle is the belief that a living environment as a whole should be respected, and deep ecology represents a coherent world. Likewise, Buddhism also offers a well-developed philosophy of our connection with nature. Buddhism presence and awareness of nature through interrelatedness, oneness, loving compassion towards all living beings. Buddhism also believes in the theory of impermanence, which means that everything is changing, rising, and falling away. Buddhism focuses on the extinction of suffering, which merely causes which causes by attachment merely through ignorance or avidya. So Buddha's teachings are related to Dhamma or Dharma, that has two interrelated areas, that is Buddha's teachings and the law of nature that apply to all life. So Dhamma or Dharma in nature, it basically means that human beings exist and survive amongst all the living beings. There are also laws in nature like impermanence that operate and apply to nature. So many of these values and laws from Dhamma or Dharma in Buddhism can be correlated with deep ecology. So we can say that there is a close relationship between Dhamma and deep ecology. So the Dhamma or Dharma, based on the teachings of the nature or the orientation of Buddhism towards nature, has numerous principles which can be correlated with deep ecology. So Buddhism also offers a great potential for influencing people in their thought, values, and behavior towards ecological sustainability of nature. So from an ecological standpoint, succession involves orderly sequence of change. Both Buddhism and deep ecology are concerned with change. Both concepts have similar views as they use values and perspectives that are based on spiritual and holistic principles for positive change in paradigms, attitudes, and practices for conservation of natural environment. So both Buddhism and deep ecology can also be considered as a spiritual dimensions of the environment. And Buddha's teachings are related to deep ecology, which aims at protecting natural forest and the environment. Deep ecology reflects an awareness and concern about the intrinsic value of all living beings. And this concept of deep ecology shifts from anthropocentric to ecocentric concern. So the interaction of deep ecology with Buddhist principles and ethics greatly contributes to one's understanding, imagination, and reinvigoration for activism and education. Now I'd like to conclude my paper that as we all know that man cannot be separated from his physical and social environment, Buddhism also emphasizes an interconnectedness and interdependence of all beings and the nature. Buddhism also provides a basis for environmental ethics because it deals with the concern for the nature as well as the living beings. So the self-realization of deep ecology and the interdependence tenet of Buddhism and ecology helps humans go beyond anthropocentric consciousness. And this breaks the illusion that man is different from the rest of the nature. Our personal self becomes the ecological self, which includes all the beings, including the nature. So human beings who manage and use the environment, they also have the responsibility to preserve the environment. So nature benefits humans in various ways, but in terms of managing and utilizing it, human also requires awareness of the responsibility in preserving the environment, and human beings also requires responsibility to preserve the natural environment, and also they should utilize it in the long term. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you very much. I will ask our esteemed judge for questions. Are there any questions for the participant?
We can take the questions from the chat box when at the last after the session also, because due to the paucity of time, we have many number of participants. So let them give proper time to speak about the paper.
Okay, fine, sir, fine. So our next presenter is Miss Pyali Das, Assistant Professor from West Bengal. And the paper is Sustainability and Dharma, a philosophical inquiry into Indian thought.
Yes, ma'am. I am audible.
Yes, you are audible. Please take care of the time. You have exactly 7 minutes to finish your paper.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. Myself, Pyali Das, Assistant Professor of Department of Philosophy, VC Bankim Chandra Evening College, West Bengal. Respected Chairperson, with your kind permission, I would like to begin my presentation. The title of my paper is Sustainability and Dharma, a philosophical inquiry into Indian thought. So, in the contemporary world, questions of sustainability and ecological well-being occupy the center of intellectual and political discourse. Climate change, biodiversity loss, and the degradation of natural resources have become pressing global challenges, demanding not only technological solutions but also deeper philosophical and ethical responses. While modern environmental ethics in the West has often revolved around concepts such as utilitarian conservation, deep ecology, or rights-based frameworks for nature, Indian philosophical traditions have historically framed human-nature relations in terms of dharma. The term dharma transcends its common association with religious duty. It encompasses a holistic order of life, an ethic of harmony, and a principle of interconnectedness that binds humans, society, and nature into a shared moral cosmos. This paper explores the relationship between dharma and sustainability as a way of reinterpreting ecological ethics through Indian thought. Rather than viewing sustainability purely as a matter of resource management, the Indian knowledge system situates it within a broader ontological and moral framework where nature is not a passive object of exploitation but an active participant in the cosmic order. The central research concerns guiding this inquiry is how dharma, as articulated in classical Indian philosophy and religious traditions, can provide a foundation for sustainability that is both ethically rigorous and spirituality meaningful. By drawing from Vedic, Upanishadic, and later philosophical sources alongside contemporary ecofeminist and environmental debates, this paper demonstrates that the Indian traditions offers more than cultural heritage. It presents a viable intellectual framework for ecological thought. At the same time, the discussion remains comparative, placing Indian insights in conversations with Western thinkers such as Aldo Leopold and Arne Naess and Hans Jones. The aim is not to idealize tradition but to highlight the philosophical depth of dharma as a resource for reimagining sustainability in a global age of ecological crisis. In philosophical perspectives on ecology and dharma, is the concept of dharma lies at the heart of Indian philosophy and provides a profound lens for thinking about ecology. Unlike modern scientific discourses that often treat nature as an external reality, Indian traditions embed human life within a larger cosmic framework. In the Vedic worldview, the universe has sustained by Rita, the cosmic order that ensures balance and continuity. Dharma emerged as the human obligations to align with this universal order. Texts such as the Rig Veda celebrate rivers, mountains, and forests not merely as natural resources but as sacred embodiments of divine forces. The hymns of Agni or fire, Vayu, and Prithvi or earth suggest a relationship of reverence where the sustainability of human life depends upon the reciprocity with nature elements. The Upanishads refined this idea by extending it into a philosophical insight, the interconnectedness of all beings. The Isha Upanishad, for instance, proclaims that everything in the universe is pervaded by the divine, urging humanity to enjoy through renunciation rather than consumption. Here, ecological restraint is not a utilitarian calculations but a moral and spiritual necessity rooted in the recognition of unity between self or Atma and world or Brahma. This resonates with contemporary ecological philosophies that reject anthropocentrism and advocate of biocentrism or ecocentrism. Buddhist thought also enriched the ecological dimensions of dharma through its doctrine of pratitya samutpada or dependent originations. In this view, nothing exists in isolations. All phenomena arises in interdependence. Such an ontology naturally leads to an ethic of care, compassion, and non-harming or ahimsa, which has strong ecological implications. Jainism, with its radical insistence on non-violence towards all living beings, further deepens the sense of moral responsibility toward even the smallest forms of life. Together, these traditions affirm that the path to sustainability is not external regulation alone, but inner transformation and ethical discipline. Modern Indian thinkers have drawn upon this tradition to address ecological concerns in new ways. Gandhi's principle of aparigraha or non-possessions and his emphasis on simplicity anticipate today's discourse on sustainable lifestyles and degrowth. Vandana Shiva, a contemporary ecofeminist philosopher, has argued that the Indian worldview offers an alternative to the exploitative logic of industrial modernity, calling instead for an economy rooted in biodiversity, local knowledge, and respect for ecological limits. When placed in dialogue with Western ecological thought, Indian perspectives label with both convergence and distinctive features. Aldo Leopold's land ethic, which calls for humans to see themselves as members rather than conquerors of the biotic community, echoes Vedic and Upanishadic reverence for nature.
Ma'am, please try to sum up your paper.
Okay, ma'am. Just a minute. Okay, shall I conclude, ma'am?
Yes, please, you may conclude.
Oh, okay. So the discussion of dharma and sustainability in the Indian knowledge system finds resonance far beyond its cultural and geographical boundaries. In a world increasingly threatened by climate change, ecological degradation, and resources conflicts, the Indian perspectives on environmental well-being offers a valuable ethical lens. The insistence that the human is not separate from nature but deeply immersed within in mirrors contemporary ecological theories such as unenhanced deep ecology, which calls for an expanded lens of self that includes rivers, forests, and animals. Similarly, Aldo Leopold's land ethic, which emphasizes that humanity is but a plain member and citizen of the biotic community, echoes and Vedic vision of Vasudhaiva Kutumbitam, the world as one family. In conclusion, the integration of dharma into the discourse of sustainability offers both a rooted and universal ethic. It breeds ancient wisdom with contemporary needs, local traditions with global aspirations. By drawing from Indian thought while engaging in dialogue with global philosophers, humanity may cultivate a more holistic, enduring ecological ethics, one that safeguards not only the survival of ecosystems but also the dignity of life itself. In this sense, sustainability is not merely a pragmatic necessity but a moral and spiritual imperative, a shared dharma for the global community. So with these reflections, I conclude my presentations. Once again, I express my heartfelt thanks to the chairperson and the organizer for giving me the opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Our next presenter is?
I have to mention few points to our respected participants that kindly divide your paper into 3 parts. First, you introduce your topic for 2 minutes. Take another 2 minutes to say about your main body, and finally the 2 minutes for the conclusion, so that if we may have any questions we can put 1 more minute extra, and this way we can get the clear idea about the paper. So 8 plus 1 will be the rational distribution of time. Kindly mind it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. So our next presenter is Dr. Savitri from University of Calicut, and the title of the paper is The Interdependence and Ecology, Buddhist Insights into Sustainability and Environmental Well-being.
Yeah, thank you, ma'am. Respected chairperson and other presenters, very good morning to all. Yesterday we have a lots of paper in sustainability and environmental well-being, and they are discussed very explanatory notes on that. So my title is interdependence and ecology, and from the Buddhist insights into sustainability and environmental well-being. So let's read my paper. This paper explores the relationship between Buddhist philosophy and ecological sustainability, focusing on the principle of interdependence as a foundation for rethinking humanity's relationship with nature. While environmental discourse often emphasizes technological solutions, Buddhist thought offers an ethical and existential orientation that reshapes how we conceive of ourselves and the world. Through concepts such as impermanence, non-self, and compassion, Buddhism argues for a worldview that transcends anthropocentrism and integrates humans into a broader ecological fabric. By integrating ancient wisdom with the modern sustainability discourse, the paper suggests that Buddhist principles can contribute meaningfully to creating resilient, compassionate, and ecologically harmonious societies. In the face of escalating environmental degradation, climate change, and ecological imbalance, there is a growing need for holistic and ethically grounded approaches to sustainability. So, in today's world, the concepts of sustainability and environmental well-being are more important than ever. Sustainability focuses on protecting natural resources for future generations, while environmental well-being highlights the need for a healthy environment to support life, both the human and the non-human. These two ideas are actually deeply connected. A sustainable world cannot exist without environmental well-being, and a healthy environment depends on a long-term mindful care. The global ecological crisis, climate change, biodiversity loss, etc., has forced humanity to reconsider its place in nature. Mainstream responses, we know that, often focuses on policy reforms, scientific innovations, and technological fixes. While necessary, these measures sometimes fail to address the deeper anthropocentric assumptions that underlie modern civilization. At the root of this, the crisis lies a worldview that separates humans from their environment, treating nature as an object to be dominated and exploited. And Buddhist philosophy, particularly the doctrine of interdependence, challenges this worldview. It teaches that nothing exists in isolation. All phenomena arise and cease through causal relations. This vision undermines the illusion of human autonomy and emphasizes that ecological well-being is inseparable from human flourishing. By reinterpreting classical Buddhist doctrines of the modern ecological context, in the modern ecological context, it becomes possible to articulate a philosophical foundation for sustainability that is both ethically rigorous and spiritually meaningful. So this paper argues that Buddhist insights, especially the principle of interdependence, are not merely compatible with ecological sustainability but provide an inseparable framework for it. Interdependence links ontology, ethics, and practice in a way that directly confronts the root cause of environmental degradation. Rather than treating ecological concerns as separate from human life, Buddhism reveals how the fate of environment and the well-being of living beings are inseparably bound together. By drawing on the concepts such as impermanence and non-self, it offers a vision of responsibility that goes beyond individual or utilitarian calculations, pointing instead toward a holistic ethic of care and restraint. So, at the heart of this Buddhist philosophy, the dependent origination explains that nothing exists independently. That is, every phenomenon arises in relation to causes and conditions. This principle directly applies to ecological understanding. That is, modern ecology confirms that ecosystem function through interdependent networks. That is, the extinction of one species reverberates throughout the system. Climate patterns affect food chains and human activities disrupt the balances that sustain life, etc. Unlike some Western metaphysical framework that position humans as separate rational agents, in a world of resources. Buddhism insists on the ontological inseparability of beings. The Samyutta Nikaya illustrates this through the metaphor of the flame dependent on its fuel or without conditions existence causes. Ecologically, human survival is dependent on forests, oceans, soil, and climate systems. The recognition of interdependence exposes the illusion of self-sufficiency that drives consumerism and exploitation. This ontological insight is inherently argumentative. If existence itself is independent, then treating nature as subordinate to external to humanity is philosophically incoherent. A worldview that ignores interdependence generates suffering, that is dukkha, not only for humans but for the environment that sustains them. Anitta, anicca or impermanence, sorry, it is anicca and or impermanence teaches that all phenomena are in a constant flux. Applied to ecology, this principle undergoes the fragility of environmental systems. Forests generate slowly, rivers shift courses. So we can see these examples shows all these shows the impermanent nature of this world. So impermanence challenges the moral illusion of permanence, that is the belief that resources are inexhaustible or that technology can indefinitely offset ecological damage. Recognizing impermanence encourages sustainable living, humility, and preparedness for change. For example, Buddhist communities practicing simple living embody impermanence by avoiding over-attachment to material possessions. Thus, impermanence is not a pessimistic doctrine but an ecological warning. Sustainability requires living in harmony with the natural cycles rather than attempting to control or freeze them. The doctrine of anatta further strengthens the ontological argument.
Ma'am,
Buddhism
please consider the time.
yeah, okay. So compassion, ethics, and ecological responsibility of the middle way. All these shows that there is an ecological element, and it is for the environmental well-being and the sustainability because the middle way, as we know that it keeps the middle because we have to stand in the middle point of everything. So by synthesizing, I would like to argue that the Buddhist framework of sustainability puts ontological foundation or epistemic shift, ethical imperative, and practical engagement. So this paper has argued that Buddhist philosophy centered on interdependence offers profound insight into sustainability and environmental well-being. By integrating ontology, impermanence, non-self, and compassion, Buddhism provides a holistic framework that challenges anthropocentrism and fosters ecological responsibility. The ecological crisis is not merely a technical issue, but a philosophical and moral one. Without a shift in worldview, technological solutions remain superficial. So, interdependence, as taught by Buddhism, provides the conceptual and ethical orientation required for such a shift. It shows that sustainability is not simply about survival, but about recognizing our shared existence with all beings. So I jumped into my conclusion. That is why. So thus I'm stopping here. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our next presenter, Dr. Haritika Arora and Dr. Sudesh Kumar from CKD Institute of Management Technology, Amritsar. The title of the paper is Incorporating Education with Indian Knowledge System to Achieve Sustainable Development.
Okay, good morning, everyone. Today I'm going to present my topic through PPT presentation. I have shared my screen. Is it visible?
Yes, ma'am, it's visible.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. I, Dr. Haritika Arora, Associate Professor and Head of Department at CKD Institute of Management Technology, Amritsar, is going to present a paper on incorporating education with Indian knowledge system to achieve sustainable development. This presentation explores how integrating the rich heritage of the Indian knowledge system in contemporary educational framework can foster a sustainable future. We examine traditional pedagogical models, their alignment with the modern sustainability goals, and the challenges and the opportunities in blending the ancient wisdom with the modern educational practice to cultivate the responsible decision making and ethical leadership for sustainable world. When we talk about in the introduction part, the timeless wisdom of this Indian knowledge system, education has always been a cornerstone of the societal progress, shaping civilization's moral, intellectual, and economic landscape. Indian knowledge system, deeply rooted in the ancient texts like Vedas, Upanishad, Buddhist, and Jain scriptures, offers a comprehensive approach to learning. This system uniquely merges ethical principles, scientific inquiry, environmental awareness, and the self-sufficiency, often contrasting with the modern education emphasis on standardizing curricula and industrial competency by prioritizing the experiential learning, interdisciplinary knowledge, and value-based education. Ancient Indian institutions such as Takshila, Nalanda, and Vikramshila were globally renowned centers for learning. They attracted scholars, students from across the world, offering rigorous academic programs spanning philosophy, sciences, arts, and governance. Their holistical approach fostered not only the intellectual growth, but also the moral and ethical development, laying the groundwork for the sustainable society. So the Gurukul system was one of the earliest educational framework in India, concentrated on the holistic development, encompassing philosophy, science, arts, and ethical living. The National Educational Policy, NEP 2020, has reignited the interest of integrating IKS into the modern educational policies. It emphasizes indigenous knowledge, interdisciplinary learning, skill-oriented education, and acknowledging IKS potential to foster critical thinking, creativity, sustainable development for more inclusive and conscious society. So we have the IKS is a holistical tradition. We have to understand the basic foundation of it. IKS is a vast intellectual tradition encompassing philosophy, science, mathematics, astronomy, arts, and governance. And it is rooted in Vedic, Buddhist, Jain, indigenous tradition. And it has evolved over thousands of years, influencing the global scientific and ethical thought. IKS emphasizes holistic learning, experiential knowledge, sustainability, making profoundly relevant, addressing modern educational and environmental and economic challenges. So the main three foundation, it has an ancient contribution, it creates ethical and sustainable principle, and it has a contemporary relevance for our National Education Policy 2020. Despite the vast contribution of IKS, faces challenges in documentation, mainstreaming, academic recognition. Colonial era educational policy marginalized indigenous knowledge, creating there is a disconnect between this traditional wisdom and modern education. So there should be a more focus on these areas. This study employs a comprehensive approach, leveraging case studies, empirical data, current literature to understand the invaluable role of this IKS in education for global sustainable development. So the key objectives of our study is, number one, to explore the educational importance of Indian knowledge system. Number two, to examine the role of education in promoting sustainable development. And number three, to uncover how traditional ecological knowledge derives the environmental sustainability. The overarching consensus in this literature strongly support the integration of IKS with the modern education as the powerful catalyst for sustainable development. Scholars widely agree that IKS-based education framework significantly enhance ethical leadership, deepens environmental awareness, foster more sustainable economic practices. However, achieving successful implementation necessitates systematic policy support, robust academic research, and innovative pedagogical approaches that bridge a traditional wisdom with the contemporary learning methodology. The first objective, the IKS, a legacy of holistic learning. The Indian education system has historically been founded on an experiential and holistical methodological diverging significantly more modern curricula focused on standardized testing. And through this study, I find it four major criteria which are important in IKS. And first is the Gurukul system. This ancient system prevalent in Vedic and post-Vedic period emphasized on personalized learning through deep teacher-student contact relationship, moral, ethical education rooted in dharma and self-discipline, and integrating the theoretical and practical knowledge across like astronomy, medicine, and governance. Second, there were global center of learning. Universities like Takshila and Nalanda were pioneering global academic hubs attracting scholars worldwide from this diverse subjects, from philosophy to surgery. And this curricula promoted inquiry-based learning, self-reflection, fostering deep intellectual engagement. Third is philosophical foundation, ancient texts like Vedas, Upanishad, Bhagavad Gita, Arthashastra, vital for shaping our Indian educational philosophy. And they provided a foundational insight into the political science, governance, education, promoting multidisciplinary approach
please try to
with
conclude.
modern STEM education. And then is ethics and social responsibility.
Ma'am, please try to conclude.
Okay, I will do it very fast. In second, we are linking how sustainable development affects our sustainable development goals, and providing a good education with the traditional and combining the modern era. We are catering three major SDG. That is no poverty, good health, well-being. Then is gender equality and climate action. Third objective was the traditional ecological knowledge and environmental sustainability. It covers three major categories, that is sustainable resource management, then is biodiversity conservation, and then is climate resilience. And our Indian knowledge system combined with this creates a better environment sustainability. Now I'm concluding my paper. While there is a growing recognition of an Indian knowledge system in sustainable education, several challenges impeded and its full integration into the modern curricula. Overcoming this hurdle is crucial for harnessing the full potential of the traditional wisdom and addressing the contemporary global issues. So the key challenges we have observed is the lack of formal documentation, limited institutional support, resistance from conventional system, and standardization issues. So for future directions, we can go for future solution, call for an change. We can have a hybrid education model with technological driven learning, policy based learning integration, interdisciplinary research, and more community based education. So this is the basically main motive was this is individuals should be empowered. We should have a promoting the environmental stewardship, and this will strengthen our cultural identity. So, and finally, I want to say that integrating of the Indian knowledge system into the contemporary education is not just an academic endeavor, but a crucial step towards achieving the holistic development. So, for future, we can look for these points. Like we can have a foster hybrid education model. We can prioritize documentation. We can strengthen our policy framework. We can promote community engagement and cultivate an ethical leadership. By embracing the wisdom of Indian past, we can empower the future generation to navigate the complexity of the world and greater resilience, wisdom, and deep commitment to the planetary well-being. These were the references used for my paper, and thank you. Thank you all for the cooperation.
Thank you very much.
I have a question to the participant, Madam
Yes, sir.
Arora.
Yes, sir.
Have you suggested any pedagogical structure or any learning tool in your model where you are saying that incorporation of ancient Indian learning Gurukula system have a great impact?
Right. I said there are challenges, kind of a documentation. It can be in a hybrid model. So we can kind of some kind of a residential learning, and some kind of a student can will not be have a gap with their family members too. In Gurukul system, it was completely detachment from the families, and the student goes to the their gurus, and there was a residential kind of a system. But in end, I mentioned we can have a hybrid kind of a model, so that some kind of a residential learning and some kind of a attachment and with their families as well.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. So our next participant is Dr. Vasantha from the American College, Calicut, Madurai. And the title of the paper is Impact of Environment on Human Health. Dr. Vasantha.
I think they are not. You may call next one.
So our next presenter is Dr. Anjum Sharma
Yes, ma'am. Good morning, the dignitaries. Please allow me to share my presentation.
Yes, sure, please.
Yeah, ma'am. Just a second. I hope my screen is visible to all.
Yes, yes.
Visible.
All right, all right. So the topic for my presentation is spiritual ecology, the rituals that heal the earth. Myself is Dr. Anjum Sharma. I'm assistant professor from Khalsa College of Education, Rangit Avenue, Amritsar. Keeping the time constraints, I have just tried to wind up my topic to 5 to 6 minutes. So the issue is that the constant degradation of the environment has put the major consequences on all the living beings in the world. It's not only the human beings, but also we can see our flora and fauna, right? So this has been a major global challenge that has to be addressed as soon as possible. Multiple the efforts are being made, right? And even the conferences like UN Climate Change Conference or UN Biodiversity Conference, World Conference on Sustainability, a lot many efforts are being made. But the point is that scientific solutions are not enough to tackle this problem. So what has to be done? We have to change our view of the world as a means of survival to that of a sacred place, essentially. Then what we have to do is we have to find a connection between spirituality and ecology for the betterment of the universe. Now, the term I mentioned was the spiritual ecology. Now, what that term means, spiritual ecology refers to the recognition of deep, often sacred connection between humans and the natural world. In the nature that we are surviving, we have to make a deep connection with that. It posits that environmental harm is not only a physical or material crisis, but also spiritual and relational wound. Now, I mentioned the rituals. So what is a ritual? Ritual is a formal symbolic action performed in community which serves as crucial vehicles for renewing that relationship. So here I could gather some rituals from all around the world, and these rituals may serve as a tool of environmental and spiritual regeneration. Beginning with, the first one is to pronounce Ho'oponopono. This is a ritual from Hawaii. Now, Ho'oponopono is a traditional Hawaiian ritual of reconciliation and forgiveness, typically practiced within families, but also extended to healing divisions between communities and ecosystems. It involves formal acknowledgement of wrongs, shared prayers, chanting, and a movement towards mutual forgiveness. Now, for example, the Vipo Valley group applied Ho'oponopono, showing respect for the land. Through ritual, people shift perspective from exploitation of land to recognition of it as an ancestors, so transforming their behavior towards ecological stewardship. Now here I'm presenting this prayer. It is known as Ho'oponopono prayer, which says, "I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, and I love you." So these four are the watchwords that we need for the survival. Now, second ritual is from the Native American tobacco ceremony. Says that many indigenous people across North America regard tobacco as a sacred plant used in ceremonial offerings. The tobacco offering, where participants present tobacco to ancestors, spirits, or natural beings, symbolizes the reciprocity, humility, and gratitude. For Plains tribes, tobacco offerings during pipe ceremonies affirm kinship with the land, animals, and the creator, and reinforce responsibility to care for all the beings. So here the tobacco is regarded as something sacred and something that has to be used in the ceremonial offerings. Third ritual is known to be Celtic tree veneration rituals. It says that in Celtic traditions, trees, particularly oaks, ash, and yews, they were revered as life givers. So these rituals often include drummings, prayers, and offerings, accompanied by an intention for forest renewal and healing. The fourth one, interfaith earth healing gatherings. Now, the global earth healing ceremony originated in the late 20th century when interfaith groups began convening rituals to align spiritual attention with environmental recovery. One example is the annual Earth Day of the Prayer, where Christians, Jewish, Muslim, Hindu, Buddhist, and indigenous representatives jointly conduct the rituals, including prayers, meditations, and symbolic earth blessings to address the climate grief and foster collective resolve. So here we have the picture showing a pamphlet that calls for 20th Annual International World and Prayer Day. And this is for honoring the sacred sites and all. Then is rain calling ceremonies in African communities. In parts of sub-Saharan Africa, communities conduct rituals to invoke rain during droughts. These ceremonies may involve drumming, dancing, libations to earth spirits, and offerings of food for livestock. So this image is something that can depict the scenario that how people are going towards the tree. Shinto purification rites in Japan. In Shinto, Japan's indigenous spiritual tradition, nature itself is considered sacred with rivers, forests, and mountains seen as abodes of kami, that is, the divine beings. Rituals such as misogi, that is known as water purification, involves immersing oneself in rivers or waterfalls to cleanse both body and spirit. Now, these purification rites also extend to cleansing polluted rivers or conducting ceremonies at forests threatened by logging. The last one is Vedic yajnas, that is the fire offerings that we people perform at our places, at our homes in India. So in Hindu traditions, yajna, that is ritual fire offering, has been central for millennia. Offerings such as ghee, grains, and herbs are placed into sacred fire while chanting Vedic mantras. Some modern eco-activist groups have revived Agnihotra Yajna, a sunrise and sunset ritual said to purify the atmosphere and soil fertility. The communities in Maharashtra and Gujarat have reported using yajna rituals during tree planting drives and anti-pollution campaigns, blending sacred practice and ecological consciousness. So, to conclude, the rituals from Ho'oponopono to tobacco offering, tree veneration to interfaith earth prayers, they demonstrate that how symbolic action can galvanize environmental commitment. And by honoring reciprocity, community, and ritual practice, societies can definitely heal both earth and the human spirit. Thank you so much.
Very nice paper, and it's a good comparative model for, I think, the comparison between IKS and the other cosmopolitan model you have presented.
Thank
That's
you, sir.
nice, really nice.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. So our next presenter is Dr. Khatikan from North Lakhimpur, Assam, and the title of the paper is Socio-Philosophical Perspective on Sustainable Development, a Descriptive Analysis.
Am I audible, ma'am? Am I
Yes,
audible,
you're
ma'am?
audible, sir. You're audible.
Honorable Chairperson and Resource Person, respected dear participants, now I'm going to present my seminar paper on Socio-Philosophical Perspective on Sustainable Development, a Descriptive Analysis. Sustainable development is an approach of growth and development of society which aims to stand the needs of present without hampering or compromising with the future generations. Development is a continuous process of growth and progress. It always relates with the human demand and superior needs of the society. Therefore, the process of development has observed with a multidimensional character. Among the various dimensions of development, it seems that the procedure of development activities somehow relate with unsustainable. Because of that, a new concept of development has been emerged for the betterment of human society in the present to future without hamper of the society and environment. Due to rapid growth and unprecedented development, planning has always been destructing our social, economic, and environmental fabrics of the unity. The prime aim of the sustainable development is to maintain the balancing of economic growth, social inclusion, and environmental protection. This three-tier approach of sustainable development has its aims to ensuring a healthy planet, that is Earth, for everyone of the society and present and future. This type of development has always tried to establish the economic progress, social well-being, and environmental protection through their interconnectedness, and the process aims to achieving the goal of sustainability. A socio-philosophical perspective on present-day sustainable development involves with the ethical understanding of various dimensional developmental activities for the attaining of demandable present need without compromising of the future generational needs. This perspective includes the global necessity of holistic well-being of environment and development of society, and also address to integrate the responsible dimensions and the dimensions of the development. This theoretical perspective examines the underpinning of the development with the emphasis of justice and equality. This socio-philosophical perspective always relates with the key aspects. One is the sustainable development can be possible through the using of holistic approach of its key dimensions. It is not just like environmental development, but it tries to integrate the environmental, social and economical factors to ensure the overall long-term well-being of the earth. Secondly, sustainable development can be possible to grow in our mind with the help of the ethical and philosophical ideas. The varied sociological dimensions can govern the social norms in relation with the sustainable development. Intergenerational equity is also important and core tenet of the philosophical and ethical responsibility to stand a safeguard of the human well-being and the future generations. And another key aspect of the contemporary period of sustainable development is to fostering our educational temper to build up a better sustainable society in relation with the sustainable development. Objectives of the paper. This paper is an attempt to understand the socio-philosophical perspective of human being and carrying out sustainable development. All the developmental activities caused by the human for their unlimited needs, and it causes the serious threat to the greater environment. That's why this paper of interpretation relating with the core theme of symbolize to find out the greater to the symbolize. That's why the paper interprets the relating to the core theme symbolize to find out our rational socio-philosophical perspectives towards build up a sustainable and a healthy environment. And another aim of this paper is also relates with that how and why we should focus our attention towards the build up of sustainable development on the focus of socio-philosophical lens, data sources, and using methodology. The paper is fully depend on the secondary sources of it, and it employs the desktop research methodology. Significance of the paper: the socio-philosophical analysis is a vital perspective to understand about the sustainable development. This perspective always tries to discover and ground policies of ethical values and sustainable development through the viewing of justice for development, equity and equal distribution of resources, demand of environmental protection in worldwide use. That discussion analysis, this concept of sustainable development uses three vector approaches. The first one is social, the people of the society. The second one is economy, the prosperity, and the last one is environment, the planet. The effect of sustainable development is the process to the solution of two vectors interdependently and interconnectedly for each other in a complex developmental model. It is also expected that a solution of development is balanced for the better well-being, which positively affect the people, economy, and the environment towards the living, towards the long-term sustainability. In this socio-philosophical lens, the sustainable development seems as a core concept of multifaceted and integrated three vibrant dimensions. The sustainable development goals address to present the aim with the ambitious global agenda to fulfilling the socio-economic and environmental challenges by 2030. Therefore, we have put the socio-philosophical perspective very significantly on the analysis of theme, which can be systematized to the epistemological and mathematical understanding of the goal. The social sustainability of sustainable development is one of the core pillars of greater sustainable along with sustainability alongside to the environmental and economic aspects. The economic sustainability refers to the ability to enhance the long-term growth without depleting the natural resources for the benefit of the social and environmental well-being. The conclusion: the socio-philosophical perspective is vital for achieving the sustainable development, which because it moves from the standpoint of the ethical, social, and human value related to the behavior, and it always tries to fostering the long-term development of human well-being. Thank you, madam. Madam, thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. So our next participant is Dr. Anjana Bisht, Assistant Professor, and the title of the paper is Religious Rituals and Environmental Conservation.
Good morning, ma'am. Respected chairperson, the fellow presentators. My topic is religious rituals and environmental conservation. Mata Bhumi Putro Aham Prithvi Bhumi Sukt Athar Veda. The earth is our mother and we are her children. India's ancient scriptures are not just spiritual guides, they are profound repositories of ecological wisdom. Environmental conservation is deeply embedded in religious traditions across diverse faiths of the world. The religious rituals uphold the sacred bond between the divine and nature, ushering to preserve this cosmic balance, reverence, and responsible stewardship. Nested in the majestic embrace of the western Himalayas, Himachal Pradesh, known as Devbhoomi, is renowned for its diverse topography and rich cultural heritage. Adhering to religious doctrine, they integrate ancestral knowledge of flora and fauna into social, cultural, and religious rituals. Understanding and respecting these religious beliefs and traditions offer valuable insight into community-based conservation, indigenous ecological knowledge, and the symbiotic relationship between spirituality and environmental stewardship. With picturesque hamlets and highest peak of Himachal Pradesh, Leo Pargil, Kinnaur is a beautiful district having three high mountain ranges, Zanskar, Great Himalayas, and Dauladar, enclosing valleys of Satluj, Spiti, Baspa, and their tributaries. In Kinnaur, almost every village has a santang dedicated to Devi and Devtas such as Badrinath, Brahma, Vishnu, Narayan, Maheshwar, Chitkul Mata, Chandika, Kali, Usha, Nag, and Nagin, etc. Festivals are not just another festival for the people of Kinnaur, but a grand celebration to acknowledge the blessings of nature and local deities, to perform traditional religious rituals such as to celebrate a new birth, to pay homage to departed family members, to mark the seasonal migration of semi-nomadic communities to the sub-mountains plains along with their sheep flocks, to express reverence for high altitude wildflowers and for medicinal and aesthetic purposes. Since ages, people of Kinnaur rely on natural plant resources drawn upon locally available flora and fauna. Festivals in district Kinnaur hold unswerving significance across villages, reflecting a shared cultural heritage and unified identity. Sazo, a traditional winter ritualistic farewell to the local deity, as they ascend for a short period on their spiritual journey to Swarg. It is a seasonal intermission celebrating harmony with nature and reverence for the earth's quiet rhythm. Celebrated with masked dancers, men dressing in women's traditional attire to dance, symbolic ritual and offerings. Raulane is a vibrant expression of gratitude to the Sauni, fairies of the meadows, mark the departure of these divine beings for their celestial abode. This festival embodies the symbolic bond between human and nature, with villagers expressing gratitude to the guardian fairies that protect meadows. Festival of offering homage to departed souls, Dakhrain, is a ritual of remembrance and reverence. This festival connects the people with their ancestors, invoking their presence in the rhythm of song, dance, and prayer. It is a living tradition where memory becomes celebration and heritage breathe through every heartbeat of the land. Ukhyang, Festival of Flowers, is a celebration invoking the blessing of local deities and mountain fairies for the prosperity and harmony of the entire village. The vibrant festivals of Kinnaur, such as Dakhrain, Ukhyang, Raulane, Sangla Holi, and the sacred journey to the Kinnar Kailash, to the highest Krishna temple Yula, to Dumti Chitkul on Janmashtami, hold immense potential to boost cultural tourism and foster regional pride. However, the growing influx of tourists pose a serious threat to the region's floristic diversity and fragile alpine ecosystem. Further compounding the issue, the local administration's involvement, driven by political and commercial interest in managing these ritualistic customs and sacred yatras, is undermining traditional mechanism that once effectively regulated access to such areas. Flowers like Gugalang is critically endangered. Brahmakramal, known as Dongar in local language, and Boj Pattar are endangered. shishur, and various other plants are vulnerable. Religious rituals and festivals are not just to keep cultural heritage intact, but also contribute in conservation of biodiversity of the region. They teach us to emphasize the need for a balanced approach towards contemporary environmental challenges, pride and respect heritage while safeguarding the planet for future generations. Sustainable tourism practices, ecological awareness, community led conservation efforts, along with recognition of local knowledge as an essential resource for addressing contemporary environmental challenges, are essential to ensure that Kinnaur's natural heritage thrives alongside its cultural and ritualistic celebrations. This paper urges for the recognition of local knowledge as an essential resource for addressing contemporary environmental challenges. Thank you.
Thank you very much, ma'am. So our next presenter is Dr. Satyajit Kalita, and the title of the paper is Ecological Compassion and Interdependence, a Buddhist Perspective on Sustainability and Environmental Well-being in the Indian Knowledge System.
Respected chairperson, distinguished scholars, and esteemed participants, a very good morning to you all. It gives me pleasure to present before you our paper title, Ecological Compassion and Interdependence, a Buddhist Perspective on Sustainability and Environmental Well-being in the Indian Knowledge System. This presentation is a joint work by myself, Dr. Satyajit Kalita, Research Fellow at Holistic Science Research Center, Surat, and Dr. Sanjeev H. Sakuria, Associate Professor of Philosophy at Morika College, Assam. So from the Indus Valley civilization to the present day, our intellectual traditions have been shaped by a spirit of curiosity, inquiry, and discovery. For centuries, Indian scholars, scientists, and philosophers have been at the forefront of human understanding, offering insights into life, nature, and the cosmos. At the heart of this wisdom lies the Indian knowledge system, or Bharatiya Jnana Parampara. It is more than a collection of texts. It is a living knowledge tradition anchored in sustainability and dedicated to the welfare of all. The Bharatiya approach does not separate progress from the prevention. Instead, it seeks a harmonious balance between human development and ecological well-being. Now, a natural question arises, how does Indian knowledge system differ from the Western knowledge system? Well, there are some distinctive features like inclusiveness. Indian knowledge system integrates art, culture, architecture, medicine, mathematics, philosophy, and martial tradition. Again, integration with life. Knowledge in IKS is not abstract. It is lived, guiding personal and social existence. Human values. Learning is not just intellectual but moral, emphasizing truth, compassion, and responsibility. Nature-centric approach. Unlike explorative models, Indian knowledge system views human and nature as inseparable. Learning often took place in open natural environment, creating harmony with ecology. Holistic well-being. Knowledge serves not only practical needs but also spiritual and collective welfare. Thus, IKF is not merely educational framework, it is truly a way of life, harmonizing knowledge, values, society, and nature. We live in an age where ecological deterioration has become one of the gravest threats to human survival. Climate change, deforestation, biodiversity loss, melting glaciers are not isolated issues but part of a larger planetary crisis. What makes this crisis particularly alarming is that it is largely anthropogenic, born from our own unrestrained consumption, industrial growth, and exploitation of nature. In search of meaningful solutions, scholars worldwide are increasingly turning towards spiritual and philosophical traditions that have long emphasized balance, harmony, and sustainability. The Indian knowledge system stands out in this regard, Rooted in Vedic, Upanishadic, Jaina, and Buddhist tradition, IKS consistently upholds the sanctity of nature and interconnectedness of all life. Among these, Buddhism offers a unique ecological vision grounded in compassion, interdependence, and mindfulness. Today, I will highlight how Buddhist insights provide not only ethical and spiritual foundation, but also practical strategies for sustainability. First, let us recognize that the ecological crisis is not merely material or technological, it is deeply spiritual and ethical in nature. Buddhism points out that the root of environmental destruction lies in greed, lova, ignorance, avidya, and egoism, asmita. These inner deflectments manifest extinctly as consumptionism, exploitation, and violence against nature. The Dhammapada reminds us mind proceeds all phenomena. If with a impure mind one speak or acts, suffering follows. That means a polluted mind creates a polluted world. Conversely, a purified mind generates harmony with the natural order. Thus, sustainability requires not just external reforms but an inner transformation, cultivating compassion, restraint, and ecological awareness. A cornerstone of Buddhist ecology is the teaching of Patitta Samutpada, dependent origination. In simply the word, this is because that is. This ceases because that ceases. This profound principle echoes modern ecological science. Human well-being is inseparable from environmental well-being. If ecosystem collapse, human life is directly collapse. The image of the Bodhi tree under the Buddha attained enlightenment powerfully symbolize this interdependence. It shows that spiritual waking is not apart from nature, but occurs within it. Buddhism rejects human-centered hierarchies. Instead, it teaches all beings, animals, plants, even rivers and mountains belong to one continuum of life. This resonates deeply with the Indian principle of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. The world is one family. At the ethical level, the principle of ahimsa, central to Buddhism and other Indian tradition, extends far beyond interpersonal conduct. It concludes the natural environment. To harm forests, rivers, or animals is, in Buddhist understanding, to harm oneself. Modern ecological damage, deforestation, poaching, pollution, all stem from greed and ignorance. Practicing ahimsa involves not only refraining from violence but actively cultivating compassion through sustainable choices, reducing waste, conserving biodiversity, supporting organic farming, or adopting vegetarianism. Thus, ahimsa provides a moral compass for reimagining development in ecological terms. Buddhism also offers a social and collective model through the Bodhisattva ideal. A Bodhisattva vows to work tirelessly for the well-being of all beings, postponing personal liberation until offered free of suffering. Applied ecologically, this ideal becomes a call for penalty responsibility. Protecting forests, rivers, and species is no longer just policy or activism. It becomes a spiritual duty rooted in compassion. Another Buddhist contribution is mindfulness. In environmental terms, mindfulness cultivates awareness of one's ecological footprint. For example, mindfulness consumption means eating with gratitude, avoiding waste, and resting overproduction. Mindful living reduces dependence on disposable goods and fosters simplicity. This aligns with the traditional Indian education in the Gurukul system, where simplicity, self-discipline, and reverence for nature were core values. Together, they remind us that sustainability is not only about policy, but also about personal practice and lifestyle. Let me emphasize that Buddhist ecology is not isolated. It is deeply rooted in the Vedic Indian knowledge system. The Vedas speak of Rita, the cosmic order. The Upanishad proclaim Tattamasi, that the word affirming non-duality between self and cosmos. The Dharmasastra lays down duties protecting forests and rivers. Buddhism absorb these truths but reinterprets them into practical ethics, mindfulness, compassion, non-attachment, and social responsibility. In doing so, it offers a living practice-oriented ecological philosophy that directly addresses today's crisis. In conclusion, dear friends, I would like to say that Buddhism teaches us that sustainability is not merely about technical solution. It is about transforming our consciousness. By cultivating ecological compassion, interdependence, non-harming, and mindfulness, Buddhism provides a both spiritual foundation and practical pathway for ecological well-being. It calls upon us to shift from a egocentric worldview to an ecocentric worldview, where human flourishing is inseparable from Earth's flourishing. By harmonizing Buddhist insights with the broader Indian knowledge system, we can envision a future where sustainability is not just feasible but also spiritually fulfilling. To put this it simply, healing the planet begins with healing ourselves. Thank you. Thank you so much for cooperation.
Thank you very much.
Any other participants is left?
Yes, sir. Dr. Vishali, Assistant Professor, Marita House, University of Delhi. Dr. Vishali.
You call her if anyone is there. They may. We are within the time. It's nice.
Dr. Vishali. Okay, next presenter, Dr. Sajid Sarkar.
Hello, is that Dr. Vaishali?
Yes, Dr. Vishali, you may.
Okay. Just, am I audible?
Yes, sir, you are audible.
So I'll just present my screen. Is it visible? Is it visible?
Yes, ma'am, it's visible.
Hello?
Yes, ma'am, it's visible. You may present.
Okay. So, hello everyone. Good afternoon. This is Dr. Vaishali Ghalian. I am an assistant professor in Department of Philosophy, Miranda House College, University of Delhi. And the topic for my presentation today is philosophy of nature and human responsibility, reclaiming the other through care. Now, why I chose this topic? I chose this topic because I have been teaching care ethics from some time now. And when I just looked at the topic of the presentation, I thought this is the most important topic in sustainable development and environmental ethics, the concept of care that should be inculcated. Okay, so today we embark on a philosophical journey that traces the path from ego to eco, from alienation to care, to reimagine our relationship with nature and the other, the concept of the I and other, and understanding the intricate details of interconnectedness and the web of existence. Okay, so the central question is, can the I exist in isolation or only in relation to the other? So basically, what is the relationship between I and the other? Okay, so the first act of genuine care requires the dissolution of the isolated ego, the false self that perceives itself as separate from the world and the other beings. So basically, when I think of myself as different from the other, that is because of my ego. And there are different Western and Indian concepts. In Western concepts, I have taken the concept of Emmanuel Levinas, who is a postmodern philosopher who talks about the face of the other. He has written this book called Totality and Infinity, which talks about the responsibility towards the other and how I find myself by encountering with the other only. So here, ethics precedes ontology and being. Similarly, in Indian thought, we have Advaita Vedanta, the concept of Tattvamasi, which we take from the Prasthanatari, which is Brahma Sutra, the Upanishads, and the Bhagavad Gita. So the Upanishads declare that the word revealing that all beings are just one fundamental consciousness, which is the Brahm. So we have separation is just an illusion. Okay, So the modern crisis lies in humanity's profound alienation from nature and the other. Why? Because we consider nature as the other. Through industrialization, consumerism, commodification of life, we have forgotten our fundamental interconnectedness. So the core aim of my paper is nothing less than a philosophical revolution moving from domination to communion, from ego consciousness to eco consciousness, where care becomes the foundation of all ethical relations. And the research objectives are, of course, to examine the self and the other relation, to reclaim the other through care. What is caring and how we can care for the other. And in the other, we don't just have human beings, but animals, nature, the natural world around us, and what is the relational responsibility towards that other. Then the other point is, of course, to analyze ecological estrangement. And in order to do that, I've taken the case study of the Yamuna River in Delhi and how it is going through the pollution and ecological crisis. And the fourth one is, of course, moving from the ego consciousness to the eco consciousness, the transition. In order to do that, the textual engagements I have gone through is, of course, Levinas's Totality and Infinity, where we deal with the concept of otherness and the being face to face. Apart from that, the concept of Upanishads and Bhagavad Gita. With that, I am also doing a comparative analysis of the Western and Indian. And in order to do that, I've taken aspects of care ethics, which is the contemporary feminist philosophy, considering the philosophers like Carol Gilligan, Nell Noddings. We'll talk about that. Okay. And of course, it's a conceptual and qualitative research methodology with comparative analysis. Okay, so let's move to the self and the concept of the other in philosophical perspective. In the Western tradition, we have seen the modern philosophy of Descartes, which he talks about in his two books, the Meditations and the Discourse Dali Method, which is a discourse on the method. So Descartes basically talks about I think, therefore I am. When he says that about I, so I is an isolated thinking subject, which is the ground of certainty, which is creating the metaphysical separation to haunt modernity. So the entire colonization, it is based on Cartesian isolationism, on Bacon's thought of individuality. Okay, now, but comparative to the modern thought, there have been postmodern philosophers like Martin Buber, who says that the authentic selfhood arises only in genuine I and thou encounter, I and the other encounter, which is possible only through dialogue, only through recognition of the other, only through the other as not as an object, not objectifying the other, but treating them as similar to the self. Similarly, Levinas's Ethics as the First Philosophy, who says that the fundamental question of ethics is what is the relationship between the I and the other. Okay, in Indian thought, we see a similar concept of the Advait Vedanta that has been already been touched upon a little bit. So this no dualistic vision, which is being talked about in different, we have seen the dialogue between the Nachiketa and the god of death. We have seen the dialogue between Shwetaketu and his father, where through the dialogical process, see, the dialogue is not possible without empathy and care for the other, right? And through dialogue, through care, the truth reveals itself. It is Swayam Prakasha. Okay, so now Indian tradition recognizes rivers, trees, mountains, animals as divine manifestations. So the Ganga is Ma Ganga. Yamuna is goddess. We worship people tree. We worship Tulsi. So why? Because we have a devotional care for the nature. And similarly, we have the concept of Vasudeva Kutumbakam. The world is one family. So everything that comes in the world, whether it's animals, human beings, are all respectful, are all has to be considered respectfully because they belong to the same community, same family. Okay. Now, moving on to the alienation in modernity. Now, as we see
Ma'am,
that...
please try to conclude.
Yes, just give me another 1 or 2 minutes, okay? So, the alienation in modernity, we have seen is flowing from René Descartes in the scientific revolution, in the industrial capitalism, okay, the capitalism made land a real estate, water became a resource, animal became production units, like, we do all sort of experiments on animals, and human relationships are also commodified. The colonial extraction we have seen, and ecological apart, because of the time crisis, I'll just wrap it up. Okay, so the environmental crisis of course includes the climate exchange, mass extinctions, deforestation. The social consequences are of course indigenous displacement, environmental racism, and spiritual impoverishment, alienation from the place, consumer identity. We have forgotten our identity because we have lost the care perspective. Okay, and the case study on the Yamuna river, because Yamuna has always been considered as a goddess, the beloved of Lord Krishna. Yamunashtakam hymn celebrates her as the divine consort. All the Krishna Leelas were around Yamuna only. But today, look at the situation of the Yamuna. And all the sewage volume, daily stretch of 800 liters daily, right? The dissolved oxygen, look at the data, the coliform count, the BOD levels have gone like way too high. So because of that, we have seen Yamuna is in deterioration condition, and it is because of the government assessment, the field interventions, grassroots resistance. People do not have that care for the nature and the river. People do not see her as a subject of worship anymore. Okay, now here comes the concept of care. Okay, Gilligan says that. Now I'll consider three major philosophers. One is Gilligan, Nell Nordens, and Milton Meroff. Milton Meroff talks about that we need patience, humility, and courage to see the other as their own identity. We should have that empathy. We should understand that relationality and contextuality. And in Indian tradition, the concept of care is reflected in seva, in bhakti, in worship, in ahimsa. Okay, and there are different stages, like in order to take care of the other, we must have attention, engrossment. Okay, so of course, the move should be from ego to ego consciousness, which is full of love and reverence and interconnectedness for the other. We have to reclaim others in order to reclaim ourselves. Okay, and I think I'll just conclude it by saying that we need a philosophical integration of our Indian knowledge system as discussed by the previous scholars, that Advaita Vedanta's non-dualistic concept along with the postmodern concept of care has to be considered, because it is our responsibility to provide a nature environment as we got it. And in fact, we have to improve it and give it to our future generations. We have that sort of responsibility. So care is the base of transformation. That is possible through dialogue. And in case of nature, where, it's not like trees cannot talk. We do not listen. That's why we feel that trees don't talk or the nature don't talk. We have to be so silent and so integrated so that we can listen to the needs of the nature. Okay, so this is about eco-consciousness, and thank you so much. Thank you for your time and for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Very well presented.
It is an interesting presentation, Vaishali. Congratulations.
Thank you so much, sir.
So, Madam Coordinator,
yes, sir, we have.
How to proceed. I mean, is there any question answer session? We can have
sir,
for 10 minutes at least.
Sir, we have one more presenter.
Oh.
Yes, sir. Dr. Sajib Sarkar from Kurukshetra University.
Please carry on.
Dr. Sajib Sarkar from Kurukshetra University.
He is not audible.
Am I audible, sir?
No.
Yes. Now you're audible, sir.
Okay. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. I would like to thank everyone involved in organizing this wonderful conference. My topic of discussion is human values and sustainable ecosystem, a philosophical reading of the Bhagavad Gita. Abstract. Research on the Bhagavad Gita as a universal text of philosophy, ethics, and human values is indeed broad and has already been well studied. But there are some areas that require more thorough research for our contemporary world. And I believe that one of the most crucial ones is the study of human values make an impression on the advancement of sustainable ecosystem. A thorough analysis reveals that the Bhagavad Gita upholds these moral values in order to maintain the sustainability of our biosphere. My paper explores the intersection of human value, sustainable ecosystem, and the teachings of Bhagavad Gita. Introduction. Lord Sri Krishna, as a charioteer, explained the divine significance of the Bhagavad Gita on the holy land of Kurukshetra to the wearer Prince Arjuna with the aim of spreading the message of welfare for all humankind. This timeless dialogue provides human values with profound knowledge by exploring the fundamental existential questions that arise in the human mind, the nature of reality, the true purpose of life, and the concept of righteous duty. The Bhagavad Gita often offers profound insights into contemporary ecological crisis. Its human values such as dharma, karma, ahimsa, anashakti, daya, seva, etc., extend beyond individual morality to a holistic framework for environmental stewardship. By highlighting the interconnectedness of human and nature, the Gita provides a spiritual ecology where human values can be restored ecological balance. Case studies such as the Rajasthan's Bishnoi community, the Chipko movement, the Apikku movement, and ISKCON's initiatives and the Bhumi projects initiatives illustrate the Gita's practical influence on sustainable living. Ultimately, my paper underscores that sustainability is not merely a technological or political challenge, but a moral and a spiritual imperative, where cultivating human values is essential for ensuring a healthy and harmonious future. Now, what is human values? A person's moral character and the way they should fulfill their responsibilities in life are determined by their human values. They stand for the values that enable people to discriminate between what is good and what is bad, what is lawful and what is not, and what is proper and what is improper. The moral framework and social standards that regulate behavior and intersection are shaped by these human values. People are ethically different from others in society because of these values, which also encourage them to consider the real meaning of life and the purpose of their existence. Now, what is sustainable ecosystem? The concept of sustainable ecosystem in general emphasizes the ability of an ecosystem to maintain its essential characteristics and functioning over time, even in the face of potential disturbances. Its main objective is to maintain its ecological integrity, functioning, and resilience over the long term, and to ensure the continued support for life and the processes of the natural world within defined boundaries. Key characteristics of this ecosystem include a high level of biodiversity, the sustainable use of resources, resilience, and the presence of balanced interactions between different biotic and abiotic components. Ultimately, a sustainable ecosystem achieves a balance where human activities and the overall health of the ecosystem can coexist in a harmonious manner. So, why human values necessary for gaining a sustainable ecosystem? The extreme decline of human values is being observed in all aspects of social, cultural, economic, environmental, political, society, which is bad sign for everyone. If this situation continues, the social unrest that will become apparent will cause great disaster for any poor country in the third world. Because the countries of the developed world are failing to handle this unrest. The impact of this unrest can be seen in almost all aspects of human society. In this case, the economic recession in the United States, the Occupy Wall Street movement, the Eurozone crisis, extreme corruption in China, etc., show their figures that development without human values is not sustainable humanistic development. Today, people need to practice human values again for the sake of human needs and ethics and morality. And they must be nurtured to build a healthy, livable, sustainable ecosystem. Because there is no alternative to ensure that our future generations grow up in a healthy ecosystem and preventing
So please
degradation.
try to conclude.
Sorry?
Please try to conclude. We are running short of the time.
Okay. Human values from Bhagavad Gita, there are dharma, karma. In dharma, chapter 3, chapter 4, there are lots of blessings speaking of Lord Krishna. In karma, there is nishkama karma. Lord Krishna says in chapter 2, verses 47. In ahimsa, we know all of these anashakti, compassion, kindness, all these are human values from Bhagavad Gita. Now I try to make that interconnectedness with nature in Bhagavad Gita. In Bhagavad Gita, Lord Sri Krishna says about the Panchabhutas, the five important elements that make up the environment, that water, air, space, fire, earth. The Bhagavad Gita acknowledges that our human body is made up of these and related to these five elements. The Sanskrit phrase Vaishubha Kutumbakam, found in verse 72 in the 6th chapter of the Upanishad, and the concept of the world is one family resonate deeply with the teachings of the Bhagavad Gita and its overall message of interconnectedness. The entire universe is considered as a vast ecosystem where Lord Sri Krishna, in his description of his universal form, shows that he is adorned with innumerable arms, hands, thighs, and legs on all sides, and innumerable stomachs and heads on all sides, surrounded by innumerable mouth, teeth, eyes, are spread out in innumerable forms and preventing the interverses. Now, the practical applications of human values with nature and interconnectedness of human values and nature. There are lots of practical applications.
Sir, please try to conclude.
Okay, ma'am.
I request you, sir.
Okay, ma'am. There is the ISKCON had taken up various initiatives to educate individuals, especially about environmental friendly values. Rajasthan Bishnoi community, we know, and in 1973, the Chipko movement is a Hindu-based environmental movement. The Apikuk movement began in September 1983 in the state of Karnataka, where 163 men, women, and children hacked trees and forced the woodcutters to leave. In modern eco-education inspired by Gita, Bhumi project in 2009, there are lots of initiatives, includes the Clean Ganga, then conservation of the Bay of Mannar, vegetation, compassionate living, cruelty-free milk, temple garden, green puja scheme, etc. Now, already Mahatma Gandhi and the Mahatma Gandhi's also philosophy is lots of simple living is also deeply inspired by the teachings of Bhagavad Gita. And the Sadhaya Parivar community is also related to this perspective. Now, in conclusion, I want to say the Bhagavad Gita is inspired not only spiritual liberation.
Conclude, we have already crossed our time limit. Please cooperate.
Sir, just 1 minute, sir. 1 minute. The Bhagavad Gita, in fact, not only the spiritual liberation moksha, but also ecological liberation through balance, restraint, and compassion. True sustainability requires reviving human values alongside science and policy. I would like to conclude my session or discussion with some lines from one of Rabindranath Tagore's Bengali songs. বনে যদি ফুটলো কুসুম নেই কেন সেই পাখি কোন সুদূরের আকাশ হতে আনলো তারে ডাকে that which means in English that if there is no fog in the forest, why is there no bird in the sky whose hand calls him from the far heavens? Thank you all.
Thank you very much, sir. Now I request our esteemed judge, Dr. Shailendra, to share the concluding remarks.
Thank you, Dr. Sarish, for coordinating your session within the stipulated time. Congratulations to all presenters also for their cooperation. In this session, we have received 9 papers, I think.
Sir, 11 papers.
11
Two
papers.
extra, yes, 2 presenters.
Who are missed here. So, first of all, I welcome to my all participants, the learned audience, and 2 of my friends from, one from Dr. Sylvia from Bulgaria and Dr. Gial Lugi from Portuguese, if he is residing there, I don't know. Hi. Are you still in Portugal? Hi. So,
oh yeah, at the moment I am in Vienna. Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody.
I welcome both of you. Welcome to again in the holy land of Amritsar, India. And we have received a good number of papers in the conference, but today in presentation, few presentations were really brilliant. I must say they have incorporated the idea in true sense that what is the relationship between man and nature, how this relationship may be orient to the spirituality, and how this spirituality, which expressed in Indian traditions of knowledge system, to incorporate the idea of sustainability. And many of us have drafted this idea in the forms of religious rituals, the sustainable idea in the Vedic rituals, in the Indian form of thinking to protect, conserve the nature. So, one important thing I must tell to all of you, that if we think whether there is no crisis for the nature, it is the human being who are in the crisis. Nature can order its disorder in very order way. All of us will face the blow. Now what are we feeling in the name of climate change? So what are the 2 ways we may have? They are only the adaptation measure and the mitigation measure. So mitigation measure, we cannot bound and limit immediately our needs, which we have started in the name of overconsumption. But adaptation is the only way through which we can survive our existence on this planet Earth. In that case, spirituality, religious ritual, reverence for the nature, and treat nature always and never as a means, maybe our tool, our way of living. And I think this tradition could India offer to the world in the name of Santosh. There is a term in Sanskrit, Santosh. You may call it temperance. You may call it the spiritual consumption, and you may call it as green spirituality. So all these discourses were very much useful to reach that goal. It's a high time to take it very seriously, that nature has its own language and it wanted to communicate with us, we have to incorporate and engage ourselves in this discussion. Thank you very much for being here once again. Thank you. Namaskar.
Thank you very much, sir. What an incredible session. We have witnessed thought-provoking ideas and passionate research that remind us why environmental consciousness is more important than ever. Before we conclude, we extend our heartfelt gratitude to ICPR and our esteemed judge for their valuable time and insights. Thank you for guiding our participants with your expertise. We also express appreciation to all the participants for their dedication and hard work. Lastly, a big thank you to organizing team, volunteers, and audience for making this conference a grand success. We hope today's discussion ignite new ideas and action towards protecting our planet. Thank you, everyone, and have a wonderful day.
Hello, Dr. Nivedita. Namaskar. How are you? Thank you. Namaskar. Namaskar.
Good to see